Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice little Friday morning over here from a sleepless Saturday, or no, Friday. Whoops, that's definitely telling. Anyways, I wanted to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis just because there is a bit of a trap situation presenting itself, and I wanted to follow up on this nice and early. Perhaps we'll do a video a little bit later today, maybe even with a face camera as well. Sorry about that, but but I wanted to make sure that I get this out nice and early because it is relevant as of right now. And let's start it off here actually on price action and kind of follow up on the last 48 hours of price action on this ongoing thread here. And basically what did we see? We saw a short-term time frame range breakdown that was had below the $38,000 level right here. Now, with that in mind, we did have a target down between about 35,500 and 34,500 right here. However, we did say that there were a few signals suggesting that one, the breakdown was probably not going to be as severe as what I think many people are expecting. And two, with today's advent of price action, I do think that there is a potential trap situation building that is relevant to prepare for if validated. So we'll go over validation conditions in a second here. But one of the big reasons, first and foremost, why I was not looking for like a major meltdown based off of the daily putting in another lower high, fair enough, below the 21 exponential average, but also the global open interest over here, not really going into any extreme levels. And really, realistically, we want to see it get above 13.5 billion, even a little bit higher than that realistically, before seeing any like major dump offs, similar to what we've seen many times in the past year of price action, where anytime it's gotten above those levels, we've seen breakdowns, as much as 50% and as low as, 15 to 20%. It's happened about 5 or 6 times now. So I do think that this is a rather well-defined relationship. Anyways, in this case, there are a few things going on specifically in the lower term timeframes right now that do make me think that we might see that trap happen a little bit higher. So that was actually effectively this red little LARP line right here from yesterday. And in this case, when we do print a lower low on the 4 hour compared to what we had on the 31st of January, it does offer a potential for this. And what would actually validate this as a trap condition? Well, getting specifically back above the 618 Fibonacci retracement right here on a 4 hour closure. Could we use an hourly? You could use an hourly, however, I would suggest a higher price in this case to confirm that being about 38,500 would confirm it for me. Then yes, I would say that this is going to be a nice little trap on price action. We're very likely to see a move into the $40,000 territory over time, perhaps into the mid to late portion of the month of February. But the same targets that we had before from a breakout of this general range would very much be relevant. That being at the 1.618 Fibonacci extension right here, also in line with this nice little blue box territory at about the $41,000 level, give or take a few $100 from that. And then do I think that things would generally stop there? Probably not. No. Let me actually get rid of this for a second in this case. But I'd actually generally be looking later in February, somewhere around the 0.5, which is actually in the mid $40,000 territory. So this is still very much consistent with what we've been saying here for the past couple weeks, ever since Bitcoin got in this range, that Bitcoin very likely tries higher first outside of this range before breaking much lower below, let's call it 34,500 specifically on a daily. If that does happen, then yes, I suspect that somewhere between about 29 to just over 30,000 bucks is probably where I'm looking towards. Although, being that I am away from my usual battle station, I feel a lot less compelled to be playing these short-term time frame moves right now. But remember, we also identified yesterday in the shorter-term time frame specifically, like the 2 and 4 hour, I believe it was, that stochastic momentum was actually turning up from lows. When I recorded the video yesterday, we were right around here, and 2 hour stochastic momentum was turning up, as was the hourly. But the hourly is like always going to be flippy floppy. It prints 24 dildos in a 24-hour session, whereas a 4 hour prints, well, not that many, 6. If my maths is working right tonight. Anyways, 3 hours also freshly turning up and will be remaining up above 36,500. And 4 hour is also freshly turning up here above 36,700. And the 6 hour is also about to freshly turn up with any sort of a closure above 36,800. And then also another major indication was alongside yesterday's price action was the daily. So if we recall to yesterday's video on the daily specifically, we saw that stochastic momentum would officially cross the downside with any sort of a closure. I think it was just around $36,000. And Bitcoin basically tested exactly that area yesterday and failed to break lower. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, I do look for this to try a little bit higher. However, that was a good indication that, perhaps we do see a trap from this region. And then on top of that, I want to follow up on a big signal over here. And this is perhaps the most important thing that I'll talk about today. Daily BBWP representing volatility is essentially at lows. 1.59 percentile right now. Can it go lower? Yeah, it can go to 0 percentile, obviously, but it's fucking low, man. It's what it is. Anyways, in this case, and sorry, to just give you an insight as to what we saw last time, it was around this low, was basically the 19th to 20th of January, which was the last major meltdown move from 43 all the way down to a low of about $33,000, $10,000 move on about a $40,000 name. So rather relevant, we'll say. Anyways, this very likely does imply that we are going to be looking at a move outside of this range, very, very soon. I'd say no more than a week, probably sooner than that, to be fair. Maybe even today, based off of a few of those earnings plays that we saw last night. Just kind of catching up on my own studies right here. So in this case, I want to speak now about the jewel. So when we do have very low volatility, obviously it's direction neutral. It doesn't imply that things are going to, always move to the downside like we saw last time over here. Obviously, when volatility is low, we've seen moves to the upside as well. It's direction neutral. That's what direction neutral means. So what I use to get a bias on direction is something like the jewel here. So the jewel or jewel light will work for this. Jewel is going to be better for this, but the jewel light will work for this demonstration. Unfortunately, and this is being worked on, but unfortunately, as of the time, we do not have a reverse function for this telling when price action, at what price action this would officially confirm an upside or downside signal, similar to what you see over here on the stochastic momentum. So in this case, unfortunately, you just have to wait until it turns either light blue or dark blue, because if you see that alongside very low volatility, that is going to be a very powerful signal, typically speaking. Not similar to the one that we saw before, which was an upside signal, but within the context of declining volatility. So that's why I called it a corrective signal coming in from the 27th of January, or sorry, a little bit, I guess the 26th of January. We saw it turn up on the jewel right here. So momentum was up, and we did play out an upside move, but it was a corrective move first and foremost alongside declining volatility. Now that we're very likely going to see volatility expand from these lows, the next momentum signal is likely going to be a rather powerful one. So if it does come to the downside, very likely coming back down to the lows. If you do see Bitcoin break and close below about 34,500, I suspect I'll be wrong about my general call that Bitcoin tries higher first before going lower. In that case, I suspect macro range lows is very likely where we're headed for, in the 29 to just above $30,000 region. Until then, I do think that this setup right here is a potential trap. We do not have it confirmed just yet. Again, what would actually confirm it would just very simply be the 618 in this case on a 4-hour closure. It's actually 38,100 or so, but just above 38,000 on a closure specifically would very likely do it. And I'd be looking for extension from there, or an hourly above about 38.8 in this case. One of those two conditions would do it for me. Until then, technically speaking, it actually is still, technically speaking, again, this is not off the cuff. This is like by the book in this case. It is still, technically more likely to fulfill the target that we had off of the range break from the day and a half prior. But again, 38,000 down to about 36. That's $2,000. We're looking for maybe another $500 for the more shallow of those targets. Another $1,000 for the more deep of those targets. But is that close enough in this case? Perhaps yes. But I just want to present that right here because, obviously if you do not get the trap, then yes, very likely going to fulfill those targets. But if this does get validated, things very likely do move fast, which is why I want to get this video out nice and early. And I think that is a good place for me to stop it. So nice and short one, a short and sweet. Perhaps we'll record another one later if it's relevant. With that said, wishing you well as always. Take care, stay safe, and see you hopefully very soon.